Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a massive, just highly passionate debate in the music world. We are looking into who truly holds the crown in rhythm and blues. It's a title with literally decades of history behind it, so we're going to figure out exactly how fans, artists, and historians actually decide who gets to sit on the throne. Okay, let's dive into this. Who is the true king of R&B? It's this viral question that just seems to pop up on our timelines every few months, right? But instead of just arguing in the comments section with everyone else, we're going to look at what the industry icons, the actual architects of the genre, and music history itself have to say about what makes a true king. To really set the stakes here, we've got to look at this hilarious and honestly kind of disrespectful TMZ interaction that sparked a huge internet debate back in 2018. So, the young artist Jacquees bumps into 57-year-old R&B legend Keith Sweat, and Jacquees just boldly proclaims, "I'm the king. 16 to 25 is my generation. I'm the king. Will you pass the torch?" I mean, it was this wild moment of bravado. You've got this young artist in his 20s standing in front of a man who literally shaped the romantic soundtracks of an entire generation, just demanding the crown. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Battle for the crown. 2. Foundations of the genre. 3. Vocals versus the vibe. 4. Usher and Breezy, the 1A. And finally, 5. The pen game consensus. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Battle for the Crown, Public versus the Masters. What we see today is this stark contrast between the internet-fueled bravado of modern artists and the quiet, just undeniable legacy of the established greats. When Jacquees challenged him, Keith Sweat simply brushed it off. Why? Because he knows he's still, quote, getting that bag. The older masters, they don't need to shout about their status. They let their royalty checks and their timeless hits do all the talking. The court of public opinion might get swayed by a flashy viral moment, for sure, but the masters know true longevity is something entirely different.
Moving right along to Section 2, Foundations of the Genre, R&B History and Evolution.
So, if we look back at the timeline, R&B originated in the 40s as this incredible blend of jazz and blues. By the 60s, it smoothed out into the iconic Motown era. Then the 70s and 80s gave us the lush, soulful, quiet storm. In the 90s, they fused it with hip-hop to create New Jack Swing, which leads us right into the trap-infused contemporary R&B we hear today. Now, Berry Gordy's Motown sound was an incredibly specific fusion. They took those deep gospel roots and layered on pop sensibilities, upbeat tambourines, prominent bass lines, all designed for maximum crossover appeal. It absolutely laid the foundation for modern soul. And Motown didn't just cross their fingers and hope for greatness. They built a rigorous hit factory. Honestly, they treated artist development like a star-making boot camp. They had in-house choreographers to perfect literally every move, strict media training, a legendary house band called the Funk Brothers, and powerhouse songwriting teams like Holland Dozier Holland. This relentless discipline is what produced undeniable icons like Marvin Gaye and the Supremes. The crown wasn't just handed out, it was earned through immense structured training. Which brings us to Section 3, Vocals versus the Vibe, Pedigree versus Autotune. Over time, there's been a really noticeable shift in the industry. In the past, pure vocal dominance rooted in church and soul training was basically a prerequisite. You had to be able to sing. Today, we often see artists relying heavily on what critics call the autotune crutch. Originally, autotune was just a subtle tool to gently polish minor pitch issues. But now, artists who lack vocal training use it to carry their entire performance. They let software, heavy hip-hop beats, and just general star power mask their untrained vocals. True vocalists can deliver raw, pitch-perfect performances live, while those relying on the crutch are pretty quickly exposed the second they step on stage without all that heavy processing. And when you place modern artists next to true legends, their vocal pedigree gets heavily scrutinized. Take Ray J, who entered the industry, actually, he came in largely through a package deal of acting and family lineage, right? But he's faced a lot of criticism for inconsistent live vocals. Then you have Jacquees, who calls himself the king, but critics are quick to point out his actual catalog and vocal range just don't match that elite status. Even Omarion, who is a fantastic dancer with huge hits, faces debates on whether his raw vocal power can really stand next to the heavyweights. Let's look at Section 4, Usher and Breezy, the 1A, the modern era kings. So the crucial point is, when we talk about the top contenders of the modern commercial era, it almost always comes down to these two heavyweights. Usher represents the smooth, pure R&B traditionalist. He walks and breathes true R&B. On the flip side, Chris Brown, or Breezy, represents the edgy, rapper-influenced global pop dancer. Commentators like Boozy have noted that Chris Brown might be the better dancer and the bigger sex symbol for the younger ladies today, but Usher holds that undeniable traditional vocal legacy. As Bow Wow put it perfectly during an interview, it's the 1A and 1A of R&B. It's them two at the top. They don't cheat the job. They are both incredibly dedicated entertainers. When it comes to modern performance, showmanship, and relevancy, there is a widespread consensus that Usher and Chris Brown just stand completely alone at the pinnacle of today's scene. Finally, let's explore Section 5, the pen game consensus, writing timeless hits. Before we evaluate the modern producing heavyweights, we have to acknowledge the absolute foundations. When Tevin Campbell, who was a massive 90s superstar mentored by Quincy Jones, was asked about the king of R&B, he immediately deferred to the original architects. He reminded everyone that we owe it all to the foundational kings: Sam Cooke, Donny Hathaway, Marvin Gaye, and Stevie Wonder. These men weren't just singers, they were musical geniuses who literally wrote the very DNA of the genre. And that brings us to what might be the ultimate modern criteria: songwriting. Singer and actor Tyrese estimates that the true modern king of R&B has handed out between 60 to 300 different R&B hit records to the rest of the industry. That is a staggering amount of music, far beyond his own massive catalog. Bow Wow actually shared this fascinating first-hand anecdote about what this level of genius looks like in practice with R. Kelly. During a studio session, Bow Wow had been struggling for 4 hours to find a hook. R. Kelly heard the track, told Bow Wow he'd call back in 10 minutes, and he did. He returned with the complete, effortless hook for the hit song I'm a Flirt. No overwriting, no over-singing, just pure, instant hit-making instinct. Now, we absolutely must acknowledge that R. Kelly is a convicted serial abuser whose heinous crimes against minors are horrific and inexcusable. However, when exploring the strict metrics the music industry uses to define the king of R&B, insiders often separate the horrific reality of the man from his undeniable musical output. As Bow Wow argued, when you strip it down purely to artistry, studio, and that pen, his peers basically consider his hit-making catalog practically untouchable. And it is fascinating how unanimous this feeling is among industry insiders. Legends like Teddy Riley, Tyrese, and Bow Wow all use the exact same phrase: the Michael Jordan of R&B. Because he didn't just sing, he wrote for everyone, even penning You Are Not Alone from Michael Jackson. To the industry masters, the crown goes to whoever writes the songs that define the generation. Which leaves us with this final thought. The court of public opinion loves a great performer, or a viral moment, but the architects of the genre, they look at the raw ability to write timeless music. So I leave it to you to decide. What matters most to you in an R&B legend? The voice, the performance, or the pen? Think on that. And thanks so much for joining us on this explainer. We'll catch you next time.